Okay, let's unpack this. We've got these fascinating sources talking about a huge, great secret to life.
Yeah, something supposedly known by, these extraordinary people throughout history.
Right, presented almost like a master P, a shortcut to,
Yeah.
well, having, doing, or being anything you want.
And what's really interesting is the claim that it traces back like 100 years to an old book, but then connects all the way back through Plato, Shakespeare, Newton.
Einstein, even the ancient Babylonians and their famous prosperity, it's quite a lineage they're suggesting.
Definitely. So our job here, I think, is to really dig into these sources, get past maybe the hype, and understand what this secret is actually claimed to be.
Exactly. What's the core idea? How does it supposedly work, according to this material?
And, well, right off the bat, the sources are clear. The central concept, the big reveal, is the law of attraction.
The law of attraction, like attracts like.
That's the fundamental idea, that our thoughts have this powerful magnetic pull on what shows up in our reality.
So the core claim, the great secret itself, is just that. The law of attraction.
Pretty much. And the source really hammers home that this isn't new. It insists figures throughout history knew and used it.
You mentioned Plato, Newton.
Yeah, and Bob Proctor, in the source, notes he was often kept quiet, known only by a, quote, small select group.
Kept secret, maybe?
Possibly. And Charles Hannell, way back in 1912, is quoted calling it the greatest and the most infallible law upon which the entire system of creation depends. Big words.
Huge claim. And they link it to the Babylonians' wealth, too.
They do, yeah. That's presented as sort of historical evidence of law in action.
Okay, so how does it actually work then? According to the source, what's the nuts and bolts?
The mechanism described is, well, it's simple on the surface, like attracts like.
Yeah.
But specifically, it's happening at the level of our thoughts.
Thoughts are the key.
Yes.
Yeah.
John Assaraf and Dr. Joe Vitale in the source explain that thoughts are seen as magnetic. And they have a frequency.
Frequency, like radio waves.
That's the analogy they use, exactly. When you think, those thoughts are apparently sent out, broadcast into the universe.
And they attract back things on the same frequency.
That's the idea. Everything sent out returns to the source. And that source is you. That's a direct quote from the material.
Wow, okay. And the analogy gets bigger, right? Like a transmission tower.
A human transmission tower, yeah. More powerful, it says, than any tiki tower. Broadcasting constantly with your thoughts.
Creating your life, your world, reaching across the universe even. It's a pretty cosmic concept.
It is. That signal is always on, always attracting a match.
Now, here's a tricky part, I think. The source says this law is impersonal.
Completely impartial, like gravity, as you said. It just is.
It just doesn't care if I'm thinking good thoughts or bad thoughts.
According to Bob Doyle and Lisa Nichols in the source, nope, it doesn't judge. Wanted, unwanted, it just responds to the thought itself, to the frequency.
Michael Bernard Beckwith and Dr. Joe Vitale call it a law of nature, precise, like physics.
Exactly. As impartial and consistent as gravity.
Okay, if it's always responding like that, what's the big consequence? Why aren't people just getting everything they want?
Well, the source has a direct answer for that. It calls it the don't want epidemic.
Meaning?
Meaning the only reason people don't have what they want, according to this material, is because they're spending more time thinking about and feeling what they don't want.
Than what they do want. Ah, okay. Focusing on the problem.
Precisely. We can probably all relate to that, right?
Definitely. Does the source give examples?
It does. Bob Doyle talks about staring at a mountain of debt, feeling awful about it. That intense focus on lack, on the debt itself.
Attracts more debt. Makes sense within this framework.
Right. And Lisa Nichols gives that everyday example.
Yeah.
Constantly thinking, I don't want to be late. I don't want to be late.
But your focus is still on late.
Exactly. So you end up attracting lateness. It's about your predominant thoughts, the source says. Conscious, or maybe even unconscious. The law just responds to the signal.
It's always working, responding to whatever frequency you're putting out.
Always. Past thoughts, present thoughts, doesn't matter.
But hang on, what about really negative things like accidents or really difficult situations? The source claims you attract everything. That feels hard to swallow.
It is. And Dr. Joe Vitale acknowledges in the source that this is one of the toughest parts for people to accept.
So what's the explanation offered?
The explanation is that, according to the law, you somehow had to be on a matching frequency. Not that you consciously wanted it, of course not.
But maybe underlying thoughts. Fears.
Exactly. Persistent thoughts or feelings of fear, maybe separation, powerlessness, or even just strongly believing in things like being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Those could theoretically align your frequency.
So the bottom line from the source is Nothing can enter your experience unless you summon it, somehow through persistent thought frequency.
That's the mechanism laid out. And Bob Doyle points out that a lot of this happens by default. Our thoughts and feelings are just running on autopilot, attracting stuff without us even realizing.
Okay, so thoughts are the broadcast signal, the frequency. What about feelings? They seem really important in this model.
Crucial. Feelings are presented as your immediate feedback system, a really valuable tool.
How so?
They instantly tell you what you're thinking, and more importantly, what frequency you're currently broadcasting on.
So feelings are like the indicator light on the dashboard, telling you if your thoughts are aligned.
That's a great way to put it. The source says it's basically impossible to feel genuinely bad while having purely good thoughts, or vice versa.
Your thoughts set the frequency. Your feelings tell you what it is instantly. That's what Bob Doyle says.
Yes, good feelings. That's like a green light. Jack Canfield calls it a feedback mechanism from the universe.
Meaning you're thinking thoughts that match what you want, you're on a positive frequency.
Right, and bad feelings. That's the warning signal.
Okay.
A warning from the universe, the source says, indicating negative thoughts, a negative frequency.
That's attracting stuff you probably don't want.
Exactly. It's counting down to manifestation, as the source puts it.
So it really comes down to feeling. Bob Doyle says you attract what you're feeling about, maybe even more than just thinking.
That's strongly emphasized. And the power here is that you can shift your feelings. And by doing so, shift your frequency and your reality, potentially very quickly.
Okay, that feels more actionable. Does the source offer ways to do that?
Yes, there's a practical technique suggested. Create a list of secret shifters.
Secret shifters? What are those?
Simple things that reliably make you feel good. Beautiful memories, thinking about future dreams, funny moments, maybe nature, loved ones, your favorite music, anything that works for you.
And the idea is?
Bob Proctor suggests that when you catch yourself feeling down or negative, you grab one of these shifters, focus on it, and deliberately change your feeling state, your frequency. It can apparently work in just a minute or two.
That's a really concrete tool. Okay, so if we understand thoughts and feelings, how does the source say we actually create what we want? It mentioned a 3-step process.
Yes, a straightforward creative process. Step 1 is ask, step 2 is believe, and step 3 is receive.
Ask. So getting clear on what you desire.
Exactly. You have to know what you want, specifically. Declare it. Dr. Joe Vitale uses the money example. Ask for a specific amount, say $25,000 unexpected income in 30 days.
But there's a catch, right? It has to be believable.
Crucial point. It needs to be believable to you, otherwise you can't maintain the next step, which is belief. You're placing your order from the, quote, catalog of the universe.
Okay, step 2. Believe. This feels like the hard part. How do you believe you have something you clearly don't yet?
It's about embodying the feeling and the state of already having received it. Believing in this context means acting, speaking, and thinking as if it's already done, already here.
Undying faith, the source calls it your greatest power.
That's the term used.
But what about the how? How will it come? Don't I need a plan?
The source is adamant about this.
Yeah.
You do not need to figure out the how. That's the universe's job, the law's domain.
Jack Canfield, Dr. Vitale, Mike Dooley all say trying to figure out the how is actually counterproductive.
Yes, because it emits a frequency of doubt, a lack of faith. It suggests you don't trust the process or the universe to handle the details.
Like the Henry Ford example they use. He didn't know how mechanically, just that he would do it.
Exactly. Focus on the what and the feeling of it. Let the universe orchestrate the how.
And acting as if helps build that belief.
Definitely. James Ray suggests approaching it like make-believe, like being a child again. Take actions that align with already having it.
Like the story of Glenda packing her suitcases for the move she wanted but hadn't secured yet.
Perfect example. Making physical space, setting that powerful signal of expectation.
Okay, then step 3, receive. This must bring us back to feelings again.
Absolutely. Receiving is all about tuning into the feeling frequency of your desire being fulfilled right now.
Marcy Shimoff and Michael Bernard Beck with Stress Feeling Good Now.
Yes, because the universe is described as a feeling universe. Just intellectually believing isn't enough. You have to feel it in your being.
And Marcy Shimoff has a specific technique for this.
She does. She's described as a great manifester who suggests saying, I'm receiving now. I'm receiving your desire now. And then really feeling the emotions of having it, generating that feeling state.
And if action is required, does it just happen?
Bob Doyle says that when action is needed and you're on that receiving frequency, it feels different. It feels inspired, joyous, effortless, alive.
So you trust your instincts. That's the universe guiding you.
That's the idea. Trust the nudges, the intuition. It's the universe communicating on that receiving frequency. The author's own story about making the secret film is used to highlight trust and faith.
Take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase.
Just take the first step. That quote sums it up.
Ask, believe, receive. Clarity, faith embodiment, and feeling it now. The source gives some really specific examples of this in action, doesn't it?
It really does. David Shermer's stories are quite striking, apparently manifesting parking spots on demand, specific checks appearing in the mail, all through visualization.
And he had some unusual techniques like changing numbers on bank statements.
Yeah, whiting out the total and writing in a new one, or pretending bills were actually checks and adding a zero, sort of acting as if in a very literal way.
And the feathers story.
Right. Visualizing a specific, unique feather, and then finding it days later somewhere completely unexpected. Presented as direct proof of focused intent. Even things like the secret check download are mentioned as tools.
Tangible ways to engage the process. Okay, what about something really common like weight? The source has a pretty unique take here.
Very unique, even controversial perhaps. It argues strongly against focusing on losing weight.
Why? Seems counterintuitive.
Because the focus is still on weight and the need to lose it, which, by the law, attracts more of the state of needing to lose weight. That's why diets often fail, it claims.
So it's not the food, it's the thoughts about the food.
That's the assertion. Being overweight comes from fat thoughts, it says. And yeah, it claims food itself isn't the culprit, but your thought or belief that food causes weight gain is.
Wow. Okay, so how do you attract your perfect weight, according to this?
Same process. Ask, believe, receive. Get clear on the ideal weight. Visualize yourself vividly at that weight. Use photos, whatever helps. Believe you have it now. Act as if.
And crucially, feel good about yourself now, regardless.
Yes, praise and bless your body as it is, while holding the vision and feeling of the ideal.
There was a tip about mindful eating, too.
From Wallace Wattles, yeah.
Yeah.
Focus entirely on the sensation of chewing, the taste. This supposedly ensures perfect assimilation. The author shares her own story of maintaining her weight this way, eating freely but focusing mentally on her perfect weight.
These are definitely challenging applications of the principle. Visualization comes up again and again.
It's presented as a fundamental tool. Prentice Mulford's advice is mentioned, thinking your day through in advance, seeing it go smoothly. This avoids rushing, which stems from fear and attracts problems.
And Jack Canfield's vision board story is pretty amazing.
Manifesting his dream house, the exact house from his board, years later without even realizing it at first. Yeah, that's a powerful anecdote used in the source.
And putting the secret DVD on a vision board and getting it quickly.
Right. Reinforcing the idea. Prentice Mulford is quoted again. Everyone visualizes whether he knows it or not. Visualizing is the great secret of success.
So it's about taking conscious control of something we do anyway. Let's shift to wealth. How does the source connect this secret to financial abundance?
Fundamentally, it says wealth is a mindset. That's echoed by David Shermer and Laurel Langmeyer in the material.
People who attract wealth focus on abundance, not scarcity.
That's the core difference highlighted. It's about shifting your internal thought pattern.
How? What kind of shifts?
Laurel Langmeyer suggests replacing limiting beliefs like you have to work hard for money with affirmations like money comes easily and frequently, even if it feels untrue initially.
Fake it till you make it, almost.
Kind of. And James Ray and Bob Proctor talk about changing I can't afford that to I can accord that, saying it repeatedly to reprogram the subconscious.
Deliberately overriding those ingrained limitations.
Exactly. And Bob Proctor advises against making getting out of debt your primary goal.
Why? Seems like a worthy goal.
Because your focus remains squarely on debt. Instead, set up automatic payments if you can, and then shift your mental energy entirely to prosperity.
Even when bills arrive, how do you focus on prosperity then?
Find a way. The source suggests things like pretending the bills are checks, anything to shift your feeling state towards receiving, towards abundance. It connects back to acting as if and managing feelings.
What about giving money away? Generosity.
There's a key distinction made. Giving from a feeling of abundance, from an overflowing heart that feels good, signals more than enough and attracts more back.
But sacrificing.
Sacrificing comes from a place of lack. Feels bad, signals scarcity, and thus attracts more lack. So joyful giving from a full heart is encouraged as it aligns with the law of attraction, bringing more.
The overall message seems to be that prosperity is natural, almost a birthright, and unlocking it is about mastering your thoughts and feelings.
That's the essence of it, yes. You're positioned as the heir to the kingdom, financially and otherwise.
Does this apply equally to relationships and health?
Absolutely, the source applies it across the board. For relationships, the advice is remarkably simple. Focus on what you appreciate about the other person.
Instead of complaining.
Exactly. Focus on their strengths, genuinely appreciate them, and you'll apparently attract more of those positive qualities. Where attention goes, energy flows.
And health. This is where some really big claims are made, involving doctors mentioned in the source like Dr. Hagelin and Dr. DeMartini.
Yes, the foundational claim is stark. Your body is the product of your thoughts. The source argues that even medical science recognizes the link between thoughts, emotions, and physical bodily functions.
The placebo effect gets mentioned as proof.
Dr. John DeMartini uses it as a prime example of the law of attraction in health. The belief in the cure creates the cure.
So mind over matter, essentially. Can it work alongside medicine?
The source suggests it can. Medicine might alleviate symptoms, making it easier to focus on perfect health, but the mind's power is presented as primary. Thinking perfect health is always possible, it claims.
Dr. DeMartini even suggests disease is a form of feedback.
Feedback about an imbalanced perspective, maybe a lack of love or gratitude, and conversely, that cultivating love and gratitude can actually dissolve disease.
And the idea that our bodies are constantly renewing.
Right. Cells die and are replaced. So illness persisting, the source argues, isn't because the body can't heal, but because the thought pattern, the attention to the illness, holds it in place.
So if you hold thoughts of perfection consistently, illness can't exist in that body.
That's the bold assertion. You're encouraged to affirm, I think perfect thoughts, I see only perfection. I am perfection. The author shares a personal story about banishing stiffness quickly just by shifting her perception.
It even tackles aging as limited thinking.
Yeah, suggesting we focus on chronological age instead of seeing ourselves as perpetually young, like only months old in spirit. The source claims you can think your way to perfect health, perfect weight, even eternal youth.
What's Bob Proctor's advice regarding doctors?
Let the doctors do their thing with the disease, but your job is to focus entirely on seeing and feeling yourself in a perfectly healthy body. Separate tasks.
And similar to other areas, don't talk about being sick.
Strongly advised against it, as talking about it reinforces it, attracts more of it. If asked how you feel, the advice is to say, I feel wonderful, and try to mean it. And avoid dwelling on others' illnesses too.
Don't give energy to it. Change the subject, send them well wishes mentally. Prentice Mulford's quote is powerful. Every unpleasant thought is a bad thing literally put in the body.
Dr. John Hagelin links this to biochemistry. Happier thoughts create healthier chemistry, while stress and negativity degrade the body and brain.
The potential for self-healing is emphasized.
Strongly. Michael Bernard Beckwith, Morris Goodman. Dr. Ben Johnson suggests that removing physiological stress, which is often created by thought, allows the body's natural healing mechanisms to take over.
And the Morris Goodman story is incredible. The miracle man.
Paralyzed after a plane crash, told he'd never recover function. But he used intense visualization, picturing himself walking out by Christmas. And he did.
His takeaway, man becomes what he thinks about.
It's presented as profound evidence of the mind's supposedly unlimited potential.
That story really underscores the power attributed to thought. Okay, let's broaden the view, our relationship with the world. There's that potent idea. What you resist persists.
Yeah, that's a core principle highlighted by Hale Dwoskin and Bob Doyle. Resisting something means focusing intensely on it, usually with strong negative emotion.
Which, according to the law, just attracts more of the very thing you're pushing against.
Exactly. So being furious about war or focusing all your energy on fighting against
It
them.
might actually fuel it.
Yeah.
Give it more energy.
That's the argument made by Jack Canfield and Lisa Nichols. Movements based on being anti-something, anti-war, anti-drugs can inadvertently create more of what they oppose because the focus remains on the negative.
And Mother Teresa's the example of understanding this.
Right. Jack Canfield relates that she wouldn't attend an anti-war rally, only a pro-peace rally, focusing energy on the desired outcome.
So the alternative is always to be pro what you want.
That's the suggestion. Pro-peace instead of anti-war. Pro-abundance instead of anti-poverty. Hale Dwoskin even suggests being pro the positive outcome you want for someone you oppose politically, rather than just being anti them.
So how do we help the world, then, if focusing on problems makes them worse?
The source insists you can't help by dwelling on the negative. You just add to it and bring negativity into your own life. The power lies in shifting your own focus when negative images or news appear.
Focus instead on joy, abundance, peace for everyone.
Yes. Your contribution, according to this view, is emitting feelings of love and well-being into the collective field.
It even claims the media reflects our collective demand, that we get bad news because that's what we're focusing on and consuming.
That's the claim. The media will change, it says, when we change our collective signal, our focus.
So learn to be still, withdraw attention from the unwanted.
And place it firmly on what you do wish to experience. Michael Bernard Beckwith emphasizes this. Energy flows where attention goes.
James Ray points out, we have control over our focus. We don't have to be inundated.
Right. Your existence itself holds power. Focusing on good uplifts you and supposedly the world.
The message is ultimately one of personal responsibility and mastery. You command your inner world, and the universe responds.
Acknowledge the current picture, don't give it energy, let it go, and think and feel new thoughts. Dr. DeMartini's quote fits perfectly. When the voice and the vision on the inside become more profound than the opinions on the outside, you've mastered your life.
This idea of internal power is huge. What does the source say about our fundamental nature that allows for this?
It goes right down to the basics. Everything is energy. Bob Proctor, John Assaraf, Dr. Ben Johnson, they all point out that even solid objects, like your hand, are just vibrating energy at the quantum level.
Everything is made of the same stuff, just vibrating differently.
That's the picture painted. Your hand, the ocean, a star, all the same fundamental energy.
And this links to quantum physics.
The author reflects on the harmony between the secret's ideas and quantum discoveries. Dr. Fred Alan Wolf is cited, suggesting that physics shows mind is essential to the universe. Mind shapes perception.
Dr. John Hagelin takes it even further. Universe emerging from thought.
Yes, claiming quantum mechanics and cosmology support this. All matter as precipitated thought, leading to the mind-bending idea that ultimately we are the source of the universe.
Wow. Which leads to the concept of one universal mind.
Exactly. Described by great teachers as this all-encompassing intelligence, wisdom, perfection existing everywhere, always.
And if it's everywhere, it must be in us too.
That's the implication drawn. If everything is this one mind, then all potential, all knowledge, every discovery, every invention, it all exists within this mind.
Waiting for us, the human mind, to tune in and draw it forth. We hold it all in our consciousness.
That's the profound idea presented. You contain it all because you are part of it all. We are all connected.
Part of one energy field, one consciousness.
One creative source, different names, same concept.
And that's why negativity towards others harms yourself, because we're all connected.
Precisely. Sending out negativity into this interconnected field inevitably bounces back to the source you. You can only be harmed, the source claims, if you invite it through your own negative thoughts and feelings. Fear stems from the illusion of separation.
So we're not just tapping into power, we are power, creators.
That's the ultimate view. Lisa Nichols calls us God manifested, spirit and flesh. James Ray says we have God, potential, and power to create your world, and you are unlimited. Genius.
And the simple phrase, I am, holds immense creative force.
According to the source, yes. Anything following I am is a declaration, summoning that reality.
Yep.
I'm not. Creates lack. I am. Declares it fact.
Which is why the recommended affirmation is, I am whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy.
Declaring those qualities into existence.
So the ultimate shortcut is just see what you want as absolute fact right now.
That's presented as the most direct path. The moment you ask, believe it's already done in the spiritual field. See it as an accomplished fact. No limits, as Michael Bernard Beckwith says.
But controlling that runaway train mind is key. Awareness.
Awareness is everything. Your power is your awareness of your power, Beckwith states. To stop creating by default, you have to become present.
Asking, what am I thinking now? What am I feeling now? Constantly.
Hundreds of times a day, the source suggests. Remember to remember becomes the mantra. The author even mentions asking the universe for reminders to stay present.
The real secret of power is consciousness of power. That really sums it up.
It seems to be the pinnacle of the understanding presented in these sources.
So with all this power to have, do, or be anything, what's the ultimate point? What's the goal?
Interestingly, it circles back to something simpler. Jack Canfield says his primary aim eventually became just feeling and experiencing joy.
His mantra, if it ain't fun, don't do it.
Neil Donald Walsh echoes that life is about joy, love, freedom, happiness, laughter.
So it's not just about manifesting stuff, but cultivating that inner state.
That seems to be the deeper goal. Do things that bring you simple joy, petting the cat, walking in nature, because that puts you on a high receptive frequency.
And radiating joy attracts more joy.
Jack Canfield claims the law of attraction will then shower you with joyful things, people, circumstances, opportunities, an avalanche of joy.
Dr. John Hagelin calls inner happiness the fuel of success.
Right. So the most emphasized takeaway, repeated often, is be happy now. Feel good now.
That's the fastest way to bring anything else you want, because you're already on the frequency of well-being.
That's the logic. Radiate joy and happiness outward. And if something doesn't feel good,
let it go. Shift your focus to something that does. Dr. John Gray's advice.
A simple guidance. The source finishes on a really optimistic note, saying we're at an exciting time, seeing the impossible become possible as we shed limitations.
Humanity's true magnificence emerging.
And reminding us, the secret isn't out there somewhere. It's the power within you. The more you consciously use it through awareness, focus, feeling good, the stronger it gets.
Until you reach a point where you are the power, the perfection, the joy.
Michael Bernard Beckwith's closing words in the source are powerful. I believe that you're great. There's something magnificent about you. The moment you begin to think properly, this power within you will begin to emerge.
And the final line. The secret is the answer to all that has been, all that is, and all that will ever be.
A very definitive statement.
Okay, so stepping back from this deep dive, the secret, as presented in these materials, is fundamentally the law of attraction.
Yeah, the idea that our thoughts and feelings create this magnetic frequency, shaping our personal reality.
And this power isn't external, it's internal. It resides within you, the listener, influencing everything.
Constantly shaping your life and, according to the source, even contributing to the world's collective experience.
The practical application seems to boil down to conscious focus, shifting from lack to desire, using emotions as your guide.
And really embodying the feeling, the expectation of already having what you've asked for. Acting as if.
It really places all the responsibility, but also all the power, right in your own hands, or rather in your own mind and heart.
Through the conscious direction of your inner world.
So the final thought to leave everyone with, based purely on this source material. If your thoughts and feelings are this powerful, if they are truly shaping your reality, what vision will you dare to hold, believe in, and feel into existence starting right now?